secret agents who got caught in their act. In a world where shadows whisper and walls have ears, the game of espionage unfolds in silence. But what happens when the silence breaks? They've lived among us, unseen and unheard, until the moment their cover is blown. They are the secret agents caught in the very act they've mastered. From the high stakes of international intrigue to the shocking revelations that follow, their captures expose a web of lies so intricate. Stay tuned, because we are diving into the world of covert operations gone awry. Aldrich Hazen Ames. Aldrich Hazen Ames, a seasoned operative with a 31-year tenure at the Central Intelligence Agency, or CIA, was apprehended on charges of espionage in Arlington, Virginia on February 21, 1994. His espionage saga commenced in 1985, making him one of the most notorious spies in American history. The arrest, which also included his wife, Rosario Ames, was the culmination of his prolonged engagement in espionage activities, primarily for the Russian intelligence services. His wife was implicated as an accomplice in his clandestine operations. As a CIA case officer proficient in Russian and an expert on Soviet intelligence services, including the KGB, Ames's early assignments involved targeting Russian intelligence officers for recruitment in Ankara, Turkey. His career also took him to New York City and Mexico City. The turning point in Ames's career was on April 16, 1985, when he offered his services to KGB officers in Washington, D.C., and received $50,000 from the KGB. Over the next few years, Ames had multiple encounters with Russian diplomats and KGB officers.
Aldrich Ames was the worst CIA spy in the sense of hurting our government.
Ames was someone I knew quite well. I supervised Ames. I knew Ames very well before he became a turncoat.
Shortly after 1985, when Ames started, we went totally black. We had no idea what the Soviets were thinking and doing because we had lost all of our intelligent assets.
During which he provided them with classified information on CIA and FBI human sources and technical operations against the Soviet Union. His treachery continued unabated in Rome, Italy, where he was reassigned and where he maintained contact with the KGB, passing along sensitive information. By the time he completed his tenure in Rome, Ames had accumulated payments totaling $1.88 million from the KGB. After returning to Washington, D.C. in 1989, Ames sustained his espionage activities through dead drops to exchange classified documents for money and instructions from the KGB. The espionage conducted by Ames had dire ramifications, leading to the arrest and execution of Russian officials who had been sources for U.S. intelligence, severely compromising U.S. intelligence operations and impacting foreign policy decisions. The FBI initiated an investigation into Ames in May 1993, following indications of his inexplicable affluence. The subsequent 10-month intensive operation involved both physical and electronic surveillance, which ultimately provided conclusive evidence of his association with Russian intelligence. Searches at Ames's residence unearthed incriminating documents. Furthermore, surveillance operations documented Ames signaling to Russian operatives, as observed on October 13, 1993, when he left a chalk mark on a mailbox, a clandestine communication method to confirm meeting intentions. The plan to arrest Ames was set into motion when he plotted foreign travel to Moscow for official duties. Given the high stakes, the decision to apprehend him was meticulously strategized and executed. Aldrich Ames's arrest marked a significant event in the annals of U.S. intelligence and counterintelligence efforts, bringing to a close a perilous chapter of espionage that had severe implications for national security. In the shadowy world of espionage, the presence of undetected spy operatives in one's midst is a startling reality. These skilled individuals blend into the ordinary ebb and flow of life, their mastery of disguise rendering them virtually invisible. Yet, not everyone holds such expertise in the art of concealment, and as we peel back the layers of these covert operations, we invite you to stay continually informed. Before we delve deeper, take a moment to hit that subscribe button so you can spy on our channel, ensuring you're always privy to the ever-evolving tactics of espionage's most elusive figures. The bumpy landing of the Nazi spy. During World War II, many in Britain were terrified that covert Nazis would drop in by air, parachuting into calm countryside and wreaking Nazi mayhem. We've previously mocked how the British responded to this floating Nazi threat. They removed every signpost in the country and never got around to replacing them all. Even if the retaliation wasn't entirely rational, the dread was. The truth is that Nazi agents attempted to parachute into England. Joseph Jacobs fought for Germany in World War I, then worked as a dentist for a period, which sounds sinister. Then in 1938, he collaborated with a lawyer to manufacture passports for Jews escaping Nazi Germany, which doesn't seem very terrible. The Gestapo captured him and imprisoned him in a concentration camp for a year, making him appear to be a Nazi sympathizer. However, the authorities believed Jacobs' experience in the illicit market indicated potential, so he was freed from the camp and trained as a spy. On February 1, 1941, Jacobs parachuted into an English potato farm in Ramsey, Huntingdonshire, a location we did not invent. So ended Joseph Jacobs' short espionage career. He damaged his ankle as he jumped out of his jet the incorrect way, and as a result he fell improperly and fractured his already crippled ankle. He fired his revolver to call for aid, and despite telling farmers that he was from Amsterdam, they turned him over to the police. His radio equipment disclosed his genuine intent. England tried him and condemned him to death. In fact, he was the last person to be executed at the Tower of London. We suppose the sentence made sense since he was with the Nazis and it was wartime. Still, we were under the assumption that when you catch a spy, you normally return him to their country in exchange for one of your own spies caught by the other country, or you do something equally nice and rewarding. Worse Nazis have received less punishment than this person. Heck, we convicted one concentration camp guard of 5,000 murders only last year and handed him a suspended sentence. The man whose wife reported him after 18 years.
The military says he sold U.S. secrets to the Soviets during the 70s and 80s. He was a former Navy officer and had access to sensitive information. Some say it was the biggest leak in U.S. naval history. In 1985, he pleaded guilty and went to prison.
It was either that or prison for our next spy, so he joined the biz. In 1955, John Walker and a companion committed several small crimes, primarily stealing tires and vehicle supplies, and when the police apprehended them, they told Walker he'd either go to jail or enroll in the Navy. He made the decision to cruise the seven seas, but he couldn't relax since while serving, he also started a pub, which went bankrupt, putting him in debt. Walker was assigned to the communications office in charge of the submarine force. In retrospect, the military knew it was a foolish idea to leave critical intelligence in the hands of a child who had previously stolen and never been penalized for it. Walker found out the solution to his money troubles in 1967. He went straight to the Soviet embassy and delivered them some top-secret information. He struck an agreement to continue dropping gifts at certain sites in exchange for continuing to operate as a spy for the USSR for the following 18 years. He'd only make a couple of drop-offs a year, but it was enough to keep the bar open, purchase a sports car, a boat, a freaking jet, and spend money in ways that the KGB warned against for the sake of discretion. The Navy was unaware of what he was doing, and we'd explain why, but that's secret. Barbara, John's wife, on the other hand, realized something was wrong. She suspected he was having an affair, and he was. So she went through his belongings looking for phone numbers or hidden images. Instead, she discovered military documents, and when confronted with them, John declared, "I'm a spy." Barbara may have liked the concept at first since she accompanied him on one of his drop-offs, but as many male protagonists and premium TV series have discovered, these husband-wife relationships never survive. He and Barbara divorced in the end. Still, she kept his secret until she was afraid he would recruit their kid as a spy next, and as a result, she called the FBI. Repeatedly, they didn't trust her since she was frequently inebriated when she phoned. They did, however, follow up on her information and eventually apprehended John. They also apprehended the couple's son, Michael. She had waited too long, as John had recruited him, but he later testified against his father. Once imprisoned, John expressed guilt about how he handled circumstances with his wife. "I should have assassinated her in the beginning," he went on to say. "I should have put an effing hole in her head." What's up, John? There's no need to be so open with us. Keep something aside for the parole board. By the way, John died in jail before he could be considered for release. The Nazi who couldn't get enough clubbing. And now for another American Navy officer who has gone dark. We're talking about William Coldpaw, a Connecticut native who defected to Germany during World War II. He wasn't there for the money. According to all accounts, he simply adored Germany. He lauded Germany at college and subsequently flunked out, acquired German acquaintances, and nicknamed himself Wilhelm, and even attended Hitler's birthday party at the German embassy in Boston in 1941. He was in the Navy for 3 months before being discharged. We don't know why he was fired, but we suppose the U.S. Navy needed a justification to discharge enlisted personnel when World War II was still going on. William then boarded a merchant ship and traveled to Germany, where he declared his willingness to serve the fatherland. Despite the fact that he couldn't even speak German, the SS accepted his offer and put him in a spy school in the Netherlands. Then there was September 1944. Germany loaded William and another operative, Eric Gempel, onto a boat and shipped them to the United States as saboteurs. The precise scope of this operation is unknown, although goals purportedly included researching Nazi propaganda in the woods and spying on rocket testing laboratories. The Nazis had dispatched a previous expedition 2 years before, but the spies were all apprehended. Perhaps this strange combination, consisting of one seasoned German commander and one Native American, would do better. Their German bosses gave them $60,000 in cash, which would be almost $1 million in today's money, as well as 99 diamonds, probably in case the cash ran short or that U.S. unexpectedly adopted a new currency. Remember when we claimed William wasn't in it for the money? We still believe it, but now that he has more money than most people will ever see, William's gone a little crazy. He snuck away from his buddy Gempel to party, and then he continued to party. He spent money on food and alcohol. He began dating a lounge singer whose ghastly cocktail outfit astounded Gempel. Gempel continued telling William that he was meant to get radio components and return to the mission, but Will appeared to have rediscovered how much fun America was. So why had he ever been so eager to serve Germany again? As a result, William Coldpaw abandoned Gempel. He spent Christmas drinking with an old acquaintance before turning himself in to the FBI. He reasoned that if he recounted the scenario, everyone would laugh and let him go, especially because he was ratting on that jerk Gempel. But things didn't go precisely as expected. The military found him guilty of spying and condemned him to death by hanging. But that was just 3 days before his execution. President Roosevelt passed away. Harry S. Truman, FDR's successor, opted to commute the sentence, and Coldpaw was finally paroled. Truman reasoned that if we just go around killing people at random, we're no better than the enemy we fought and beat. The spy ring. Clifford Stoll, an astronomer, was working at the Lawrence Berkeley Laboratory in California in August 1989. He was a systems administrator, and if you don't think that's an interesting job in a building full of lasers and dark energy, try living without system administrators for a day. You'll be sorry for your hasty remarks when the purge begins.
The accounts are off to the tune of 75, 85 cents. My accounting inside my Unix machine is out of balance. I'm saying, that's weird. I don't think that should be, because a computer shouldn't be making nickel and dime mistakes. So I start poking at it, and I notice that, oh, it looks like there's somebody using my Unix machine.
Stroll was reviewing the finances when he found an unaccounted for 75-cent transaction. He spent 3 days researching and discovered, and we'll use the same language as newspapers in 1989, that someone had gained access to the computer through telephone lines.
And I'm sitting there in astronomy lecture. What are these boring guys talking about gravitational waves and how galaxies get spiral arms because of gravitational waves, and really how stars themselves slow down in certain areas.
They had a hacker on their hands, and things got fascinating when Stoll spent the next 4 months tracing the intruder's every action. The hacker's ultimate goal was not to loot the establishment with a succession of 75-cent transactions, nor did he want to download class notes. Marcus Hess, a West German secretly working for the KGB, was the hacker, and he was using the facility as an access point into 400 military systems. This involved infiltrating the proto-internet, as well as a separate military network that should have been more difficult to access. Stoll devised a scheme to catch the hacker while bathing with his partner one day. The pair even called the plot Operation Showerhead, and while this may seem like overkill, Cliff genuinely wanted everyone to know he has sex. He inserted information on lab computers describing a fictional network that may be of interest to the KGB, and the lab soon got requests about this network from someone the FBI suspected of being a spy. Cliff also tracked the hacker to Hanover, Germany, and the CIA followed up on his tip, discovering that the person on the other end, Hess, was also a spy. After some prompting, West Germany apprehended Hess, and it all happened for 75 cents. And if the error had cost more, Stoll says he would have never followed up on it. It's like if your house collapses, you just assume there's been an earthquake, he said. But if you find a tiny termite hole, you think, geez, I'd better investigate. We're not sure, but we're not the counterintelligence scientist who had epiphany moments during shower sex, so we'll take his word for it. The Falcon. Every spy needs a catchy moniker, and Christopher Boyce's was the Falcon. The KGB picked it for him, not because of his sharp eyesight or his ability to strike targets like a bird of prey. They chose it because Boyce was interested in falcons. Real falcons, as in the sport of falconry. They dubbed his partner Andrew Lee the Snowman because Lee enjoyed cocaine. Genuine cocaine, as opposed to cocaine through the sport of cocaine. The bestseller novel, The Falcon and the Snowman, as well as the film of the same name starring Sean Penn, popularized this team and their code names. Boyce worked for an aerospace business with top secret clearance in 1974, and due to a series of bizarre 1970s misunderstandings, the company began receiving CIA cables they were not meant to view. Boyce ended up delivering them to the Soviets, and as he explains it, he read something so horrifying that he decided it was time to swap allegiances. The CIA was contemplating regime change in Australia, among other things. The plan was eventually carried out by the CIA. Boyce and Lee traveled to Mexico City over the following 3 years, leaving documents at the Soviet consulate. Then, in 1977, Lee made the mistake of dropping off some microfilm when a cop was monitoring him. That cop had him detained for trash. During interrogation, Lee disclosed that he and Boyce had committed the somewhat more severe crime of treason, and he was sentenced to life in prison. Boyce was also in prison for 40 years on the same espionage charge, but with less cocaine. And while the book and film concluded there, it wasn't the conclusion of his narrative. He escaped from jail in January 1980, using an improvised ladder to climb over the barrier. His jail was 100 miles outside of Los Angeles, so he might have fled to Mexico. However, police sought for clues in the man's profile, which stated that he consumed a lot of vitamins, enjoyed exercising, and was, of course, infatuated with falcons. We thank you for spending time with us today, and we look forward to catching up with you again next time. Have a great day, and thanks for watching.